WVEC TV, Hampton.
And here we go.
This is Jeff Goodday, ABC News.
Earlier this month, a tent city sprang up on a barren stretch of hills in northern Virginia. The site was an Army base, but thousands of campers who pitched their tents included not a single soldier. The campers were Boy Scouts, converging on the Old Dominion for one of the oldest traditions in scouting. Kellyn Beeck reports on the Jamboree.
Where can you find the only medieval castle in Virginia? The only Space Needle east of Seattle, and the only landlocked lighthouse in the world. At the 1981 National Scout Jamboree. This is Scouting's 10th Jamboree, but it's the first one to be held on a military base. 30,000 scouts spread across 8 square miles of Virginia countryside at the Army's Fort A.P. Hill. They are here to engage in a week of scouting activities, but that means a good deal more than knot tying, fire building, and, well, good deeds. The Jamboree is part festival, part summer camp, and part circus. It is Scouting's ultimate, crowning, colossal, semi-quadrennial big blowout. A $6 million camping trip. The bill is paid by the Scouts themselves, each spending hundreds of dollars to come here. And much of the money goes for food. Breakfasts for the week-long Jamboree require 186,000 eggs, 3 miles of sausage, and 80,000 quarts of milk. Faced with filling the mouths of a legion of growing boys, the organizers chose other areas for cost-cutting. 47 plastic swimming pools serve as water tanks, supplying the campers with cold showers.
524! Hip hip hooray! 524! Hip hip hooray!
The Scouts at the Jamboree are exuberant, caught up in the high-spirited event.
524! Hip hip hooray!
This is Troop 524 from Tidewater. Each troop at the Jamboree is a group of strangers at the beginning of the week, scouts from neighboring cities thrown together just for this event.
1, 2, 3. You got it.
After the Jamboree, they'll return home to their regular scout troops with an 8x10 photo to remember their Jamboree companions by, and a heap of stories to tell. Enough tales to regale those who stayed home for months. Stories about how big it was, the miles you had to walk between your camp and the events. Why, it must have been 10 miles to the arena when the King of Sweden was here. Well, maybe just a mile and a half. But it really was the king. There were Swedish scouts at the Jamboree, Jamaican scouts, German scouts, scouts from 1,000 different countries. Well, maybe just 100. The Jamboree was so big you really couldn't see the whole thing. Like the time the Scoutmaster came back to camp and told us about a great rifle range. Only nobody'd seen it but him.
And then the National Rifle Association has a good hunting trip. They take you on about a 20-minute hunting trip down through the forest. And they have mock animals, you know, deer and snake and raccoon.
Do you actually shoot them?
Yeah, you actually shoot the rifle. Right. No, they're imitation animals.
Never did find that rifle range, but you should have seen the obstacle course. It had one part we called the commando slide. Everybody had to try it.
Slide, all right.
Excellent.
You like that?
Yeah, it's pretty decent.
All right, come on.
Yes, it's a safe bet the stories Scouts will tell about the Jamboree are likely to be somewhat embellished. In truth, it was just a bunch of boys having fun and acting like, well, like a bunch of boys.
Mark, you're kind of a wimp. That's what you are.
The organizers of the Jamboree supplied enough obstacle courses, rifle ranges, and contests to occupy the Scouts from dawn till dusk. But something else, something spontaneous, often draws their attention instead. Something that happens along the roadsides, in the campsites. Scouts huddled everywhere on the grounds, trading colorful bits of cloth, patches that are meaningless to anyone but a Boy Scout.
I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's see. That one right there. That.
This one?
Yep. Okay, thank you. I'll trade you one.
The wheeling and dealing continues unabated, hour after hour, as horse traders in the guise of Boy Scouts try to collect the most colorful patches from the most faraway places. The traders bring their wares in briefcases, satchels, and plastic bags. A novice soon learns the going rates. For example, 2 patches from Omaha, Nebraska are worth only 1 patch from Malibu, California, the one with the nifty shark. And that's the way it goes. Business is business, and a subpar offer brings a quick rejection.
I don't have enough council strips or anything to deal with that.
A good trader can, in short order, turn a handful of patches from Issaquah, Washington, into an imposing array of geographical art.
I like the colorful ones, and it's fun. In most every jamboree, they have a lot. Patches, different patches. And I got this Malibu one for Chief Seattle. It has 18 colors, and it's a lodge flap. And I got this pamphlet with Israeli patches for one of these shirts. Traded a guy from Israel.
The Jamboree is an assemblage of people from every corner of the country and many corners of the globe. It is natural that patches and other forms of identification have such great importance. Hometown pride is extremely important. One troop was so proud of its area's farming heritage, they made tents shaped like barns, brought along a split-rail fence, and a cow. Are they from Iowa? Nope, New Jersey. Your clue was the gleaming plastic Jersey cow. Each troop has a unique entrance to its campsite, a gateway that serves as its symbol for the Jamboree. A troop from Delaware built a 5-foot Coast Guard station, and a Seattle troop brought a scaled-down version of the city's famous Space Needle. A castle for one troop, a neon sign for another. But for the boys from Texas, only the biggest flag around will do. Some troops chose technology as the way to go. This plywood lighthouse is equipped with a telephone to ring up the neighbors. It's battery-powered. Some Pennsylvanians brought a working windmill, determined to provide their own power. If the wind fails, no problem. A solar panel takes up the slack. The best gateway wins a prize, but these New Yorkers are disturbed. The rules said natural wood only, and they want those rules enforced.
Well, I've seen a lot, and, you know, some of them aren't using the rules that they were supposed to. They said that it's supposed to be made out of all natural wood.
There's even one with a neon light.
Well, a neon light, I think that's going a little too far. You know, it makes it look like a hotel or something.
The most practical gateway at the Jamboree came from Long Island. The balloon, high in the air, made it easy for the troop to find its way back to the campsite, a problem faced by everyone here. The sea of tents was like a house of mirrors. Every direction looked the same.
Victory is ours tonight. Victory is ours tonight. Is he right or wrong? He's right. Is he right or wrong? He's right.
Marching became a popular solution to the problem. Troops that marched together got home together, and sometimes still got lost together. The Scouts' marching song belongs to the Army, of course, and the Army made its presence felt at the Jamboree. A skydiving team drew crowds of onlookers for an afternoon demonstration, onlookers who craned their necks for an hour or more to see the show.
a pity they can't make them jump sideways. That way our necks wouldn't get tight. We could go across that way.
The thousands of scouts at Fort Hill must have been a temptation for Army recruiters. But to their credit, theirs was the only branch of the military without recruiters present. Still, the scouts do a lot of things just like the Army. KP, for one. An afternoon with the scouts from Tidewater was proof that scouting hasn't changed much over the years. Even the scouts themselves act much the same. Even their favorite competition is still the same, the tug of war. Here, in one of the day's final events, the Tidewater Scouts are matched with a troop from Northern Virginia for the right to advance toward the Jamboree Championship. The tide swings back and forth until finally the boys from Tidewater end the struggle. Victory comes as no surprise, they say, but not because of size or strength.
Spirit. Yeah.
The victors call themselves the Kodiak Bears, a name well-deserved.
Okay, Kodiak Bears, pick up your chow. Let's go. Back to dinner.
The Jamboree was, well, it was great. The next one, 1985. Maybe even right here. So 4 years from now, they'll do it all over again.
Science is coming closer to finding ways of meeting the world's growing need for food. And part of the answer may be the backyard fish farming system developed by a Norfolk College professor. Kellyn Beeck has the story.
Welcome to the backyard of Tony Provenzano, an oceanography professor at Old Dominion University. The 4 geodesic domes conceal ordinary plastic swimming pools, part of the professor's 5-year-old experiments with family fish farming. The backyard fishery is Provenzano's vision of the future, a future in which every family will grow all of its own food.
I think that backyard fish production for food is going to become an accepted thing in this country within the next 10 years.
Provenzano and his assistant, Joe Winfield, are 1 month away from an important stage in their research, harvesting a crop of African perch that may prove his swimming pool aquaculture system can grow fish for under $1 a pound. A pool at the university was stocked in May with 400 baby fish the size of guppies. Now, in a preliminary harvest, the scientists have scooped out 31 adult fish ready for the frying pan. While Winfield cleans them, Provenzano prepares a seafood chowder. The size of the fish is a good sign. With luck, they may grow to a length of 7 or 8 inches, big enough to make the experiment a success. But the scientists' optimism is clouded by the far greater progress of aquaculture in foreign countries, where governments already believe in its importance.
There is no question that food from the sea is needed, and it's limited from the natural environment. We're trying to make food production on a small scale a practical thing.
Aquaculture research is unpopular in the U.S., thus it is limited mainly to projects like Tony Provenzano's, projects that exist only because scientists are willing to spend their own time and their own money.
You do get tired, but you realize that the goal that you're working for is worth it. And that's trying to come up with a fish or substance for food that'll be useful throughout the world.
The hard work continues through August and September. Finally, it is October, harvest time, and the perch are now much larger. Provenzano and his team of graduate students take a deep breath and conduct the weigh-in.
This one's 176 millimeters long. Headed back for the bucket.
48.
Many of the fish are 8 inches long, weighing nearly a pound, more than large enough to convince Tony Provenzano of success.
We now know that we can grow a quantity of fish in a short enough period of time to allow even a layman to be able to grow a practical quantity.
Their work now complete, the scientists prepare for one final test. Tasting the first harvest is a privilege reserved for a group of high school students who tended the fishery all summer under a grant from the National Science Foundation. Finally, Professor Provenzano picks up a fork to sample a fried fillet of homegrown African perch.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Sulfur, salt, and cream of tartar, Edgar Cayce's miracle cure for acne. The master mystic who spent his later years in Virginia Beach, befuddling medical science with his psychic cures, is being remembered this weekend at the foundation he started during the Depression on a hill overlooking the ocean. It is the 50th anniversary for Cayce's Association for Research and Enlightenment, and the public is invited for the events planned tomorrow. In this report, Kellyn Beeck steps through the doors of the Psychic Research Center to explore the story behind the Cayce Foundation in the legacy of Edgar Cayce.
What sort of strange experiments take place in the makeshift pyramid tucked behind the buildings at the north end of Virginia Beach? Edgar Cayce's followers meditate here, exploring Cayce's psychic revelations. The foundation Cayce started in 1931 serves as a laboratory for people to investigate the ideas he fostered. Using this ESP testing machine, visitors measure their telepathic ability. Squeezing their eyes closed, they concentrate on sending and receiving telepathic images. The machine faithfully records their successes and failures. Many people have tested their psychic abilities on this machine, some doing well, others not so well, but none have demonstrated the ability of Edgar Cayce. As a young man in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Cayce astounded local doctors with his ability to go into a trance and diagnose the ailments of any person, anywhere, given only that person's name and address. Sleeping on a couch, Cayce would respond to questions about treating the patient, and the improbable cures he prescribed always seemed to work. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping psychic, in a trance, inventing miracle cures for people the doctors couldn't save. He took no money for the readings, but someone usually took notes, his wife Gertrude at first, and later a secretary. Gladys Davis joined the Cayces in 1923, and over the years she took down every word of over 14,000 readings.
I mean, to sit down and listen to those readings, we all got so that it was just a part of our lives, and we were used to miracles happening every day, you know, and people getting well and following the treatments and getting well, and the beautiful letters that we got.
People who heard of Cayce's seemingly phenomenal abilities came to get health readings of their own and found that the psychic could answer other questions too.
When she was 8 or 9 years old, of catastrophic...
Charles Thomas Cayce, Edgar Cayce's grandson. He's heard about the readings all his life and knows them very well.
About 2/3 of the readings that he gave, of the 14,000 readings he gave, were for physical problems that people had. But as those readings proved to be accurate, people began to explore the range of Edgar Cayce's psychic ability and ask him all sorts of questions, personal questions related to problems in their life, questions about business advice, dream interpretations.
Charles Cayce is president of A.R.E., the Association for Research and Enlightenment, which Edgar Cayce founded 50 years ago in Virginia Beach. In typical Cayce fashion, he decided to come here because of a dream. In a trance, he chose the city as the best place to build a hospital and put his miracle cures to work, healing the sick. The hospital opened in 1928, but closed 3 years later. Virginia Beach was not proving to be the city of his dreams after all. The same year his hospital closed, Cayce was arrested in New York and charged with pretending to tell fortunes. He was freed after standing trial. It was 1931, the year he founded A.R.E.
Everybody at the camera.
Beautiful.
50 years later, A.R.E.'s 165 employees gather for a group photo. It is the association's golden anniversary, and the years of struggling to keep Edgar Cayce's work alive have seen the foundation grow from its troubled beginnings to become an organization of over 32,000 members. But relatively few of those members live in Virginia Beach. The city of Cayce's dream still shies away from his hospital on the hill, even though it's just an A.R.E. office building today. The people at A.R.E. have come to understand why the neighbors keep their distance.
People don't want to appear to be gullible and therefore tend to dismiss and scoff at the whole field without taking a careful look at what might be factual information in the field.
The library here is filled with information about Cayce, ESP, reincarnation, the world of psychic phenomena. A special section is reserved for the collected readings of Edgar Cayce, everything he said in his mysterious trances, compiled and indexed by the secretary he always called Miss Gladys.
A total we have that we have copies of 14,256, but we've discovered about 5 or 6 more since then.
All of those remarkable cures are here, every one, and the apparent fact that they worked is well documented. Peanut oil for arthritis, crude oil for baldness, and Coca-Cola syrup for bladder infections. People are still using the cures today. For example, a woman with tumors in her abdomen who says the cure she found in the readings amazed the doctor who claimed surgery was the only solution.
Every time I would go, he didn't know what I was doing, but he would always say, well, just keep on with whatever it is you're doing. And it took about 3 years, and they were completely gone.
The cure was castor oil rubbed into the skin. Others say they've cured simpler ailments, like athlete's foot.
It was in pretty bad shape, and if something had not happened soon after I started, I would have gone to a doctor and got some real professional treatment. But by utilizing the suggestions in the readings, I was pretty much able to bring it under control.
The readings are studied in conferences and seminars where people explore their own psychic abilities and wonder about the question people have asked since the day the famed mystic gave his first reading. How did he do it? His grandson believes in reincarnation and says that is the answer. In his own readings, Edgar Cayce said his psychic ability was developed during previous lives.
One as a priest in Egypt, and another one at some other time in the history of the earth, and that the soul had carried over these abilities, these psychic abilities, into this present life as Edgar Cayce.
Those who meditate in the pyramid wonder if they've had other lives, if reincarnation is truly possible. 45,000 visitors a year come to Virginia Beach to see the Cayce readings and walk through the meditation garden. But many more people dismiss the so-called psychic power of Edgar Cayce.
Even now, people talk about the Edgar Cayce Foundation, the A.R.E., as this strange place on the hill where all sorts of strange things go on. And I was very much embarrassed about that as a young person, and spent a good deal of my teenage life trying to disassociate myself from any involvement in the A.R.E., and very embarrassed about my relationship to this strange grandfather.
Edgar Cayce faced a few skeptics during his own lifetime, but as his followers spread knowledge of his work, he will face many, many more.
Next on Focus, millions of Americans who become divorced, separated, and widowed each year look for new places to meet new faces. We'll visit those places in Tidewater, singles clubs, a dating service, and the bar scene.
A lot of them say they're not married, and in that time they're taking their wedding ring off and putting it in their pocket.
Join reporter Hank Dolmatch as he explores the social world of being single again on Focus, Saturday night at 7.